So, you've probably gotten used to the idea of AI giving you a hand. But what if I told you we're about to move way beyond that? We're talking about delegating entire outcomes. This is a huge shift in how we interact with technology, and it's all thanks to something called AI agents. And believe me, they're not just some far-off idea. They're about to become your next digital coworker.
And I'm not talking about some distant sci-fi future. Just look at this number from Gartner. By 2026, that's just around the corner, a whopping 40% of the enterprise apps you use every single day will have these agents baked right in. To put that in perspective, that's up from less than 5% today. Yeah, this isn't just a trend, it's a tidal wave.
So, you might be asking, what's the big deal? Isn't this just another chatbot? Well, no. This quote absolutely nails the difference. Think about it like this. A co-pilot, which we're all getting used to, is like having a really smart navigator in your passenger seat. They're super helpful, but you're still the one driving. An AI agent? It takes the keys. You just give it a destination, and it figures out the entire journey for you. We're literally moving from assistants to autonomous delegates.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the agent revolution itself. Then we'll walk through how we got from simple automation to these agents. After that, we'll peek inside the agent's mind, check out some real-world examples, and finish up by looking at what's next, a future orchestrated by teams of agents.
All right, first up, the agent revolution. The core idea here is actually pretty simple, but it's profound. For decades, we've had to tell our software exactly how to do something, step by step. Now we're shifting to just telling it what we want to achieve. It's the difference between commanding a passive tool and collaborating with a proactive teammate.
So how did we even get to this point? It might sound super complex, but it's really not. We can actually trace a pretty simple 1, 2, 3 path that shows exactly how we evolved from basic automation to the AI agents we're seeing today.
And here they are, our 3 levels. We're going to start with good old-fashioned rules-based automation. Then we'll level up to AI workflows, which are a bit smarter. And finally, we'll make the big leap to autonomous AI agents. The best part? We'll follow a single example through all 3 stages, so the difference between them will become totally clear.
All right, let's start at level 1, automation. You know, the perfect way to think about this is a vending machine. Seriously, you press B4, you get a bag of chips. Every single time. It's a super rigid, if this, then that kind of deal. There's zero thinking involved, no understanding of context. It's just a predictable, pre-programmed action that follows the trigger.
So let's apply this to a real-world example, say customer service. A customer goes to your website, fills out a form, and selects sales from a drop-down menu. The automation sees that word sales, and bam, it immediately routes the form to the sales team. Super simple, right? But what if the customer's message is actually about a technical problem, and they just clicked the wrong button? Well, the automation has no idea. It doesn't care. It can't actually read the message. It just follows that one simple rule and ends up sending the request to the completely wrong team.
Okay, moving on up to level 2, AI workflows. Now think of this like we're adding a smart station to our assembly line. We're basically plugging a large language model, an AI brain, right into the middle of the process. So now it can actually read, understand, and even make a basic decision. But, and this is key, it's still stuck on a fixed path that a human designed for it.
So let's go back to our customer. They fill out that same form, and again, they accidentally click sales. But this time is different. Instead of just looking at the dropdown, the workflow sends the actual content of their message to an LLM. The AI reads it and goes, even though they click sales, this is clearly a service question. And then it correctly routes the ticket to the service team. See? Much smarter. But notice that we, the humans, still had to build that specific path for it to follow.
And that brings us to the main event. Level 3, AI agents. This is the real game changer. The best analogy here is a great personal assistant. You don't give them a 20-step checklist. You just give them a high-level goal. You say, hey, I need to be in New York by Tuesday, and they figure out everything else, the flights, the hotel, the rental car, all of it, on their own.
So, back to our customer service example for the last time. Now, the agent doesn't get a form to route. It gets a goal, something like, answer this customer's pricing question. It doesn't follow a pre-built path. It actually reasons. It thinks to itself, okay, this is about pricing. I need the most up-to-date info. I know, I'll use a tool to search our live database. Then it finds the information, drafts a friendly, personalized email with the answer, and sends it directly to the customer, all by itself.
And this right here, this is the critical difference. In levels 1 and 2,
In automation and AI workflows, you are the manager. You're the one who has to design the assembly line and tell the AI exactly what to do. But with a level 3 AI agent, the AI is the manager. You just give it a goal, and it builds its own assembly line to get the job done. That's the massive leap we're talking about.
Okay, so you're probably wondering what's actually going on under the hood that makes all this possible. Let's take a quick peek inside the agent's mind and see what the core components are that give it this incredible autonomy.
It really breaks down into this pretty simple but really powerful formula. At the very heart of it, you have an LLM, that's the reasoning engine. Then you add memory, so it can actually learn from past interactions and remember context. You have to give it tools, things like web search or the ability to access a database so it can actually do things. You give it a goal to aim for, and then you wrap the whole thing in what we call looping logic, which lets it keep trying until the job is done.
So, that looping logic, how does it actually work? Well, it's a constant cycle, kind of like how we solve problems. First, the agent thinks. It analyzes the situation and comes up with a plan. Then, it acts. It uses one of its tools to execute a step in that plan. After that, it observes the result of its action. And finally, it adjusts its plan based on that new information. And it just keeps repeating that loop. Think, act, observe, adjust, over and over until the mission is complete. Okay, so that's the theory, which is cool and all. But how does this actually translate into real-world business value? Let's talk about how companies are already turning these technical ideas into a serious competitive advantage.
Really, it all boils down to these 5 key pillars. First, time and leverage. Agents automate the grunt work so your human teams can focus on high-value, strategic stuff. Second, cost reduction. Less manual work, fewer human errors. Third, speed. These things can work 24/7 and make instant decisions. Fourth is consistency in quality. You get the same standardized output every single time. And finally, and this one is huge, scale. You can handle 10 times the volume without needing to hire 10 times the people.
And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. Here's a super tangible example from back-office processing. A task that might have taken a human 10 hours to complete can be handled by an AI agent in just 5. That's a 50% reduction in processing time, and that translates directly into real money saved and much faster operations. So where does it go from here? I mean, if a single agent is this powerful, imagine what happens when you get a whole team of them working together. Well, we're right on the cusp of that. We're entering the era of orchestration, where different, specialized agents can collaborate to solve incredibly complex problems. Now, for any of that to work, these agents obviously need a way to talk to each other and to the rest of the digital world. And that's where some new standards are popping up, like MCP and A2A. MCP, or Model Context Protocol, is basically a universal connector that lets any agent plug into any tool. The best analogy, it's like the USB-C for AI. Then you have A2A, which is an agent-to-agent protocol. You can think of it like a private social network just for AIs, letting them coordinate and hand off tasks to one another.
And of course, if you have whole fleets of these digital workers running around, you're going to need a way to manage them. That's why we're starting to see the rise of the Agent OS. It's exactly what it sounds like. Just like Windows or Mac OS manages all the software on your computer, an Agent OS will be the control plane that delegates tasks, manages what they all know, and makes sure all your different agents are working together like a well-oiled machine.
So here's the bottom line. AI agents are evolving from just being tools into being actual teammates. They're this whole new layer of intelligence and automation that is absolutely going to change how work gets done. The question really isn't if you'll be working alongside an AI agent, it's when. Which leaves us with one final big question to think about. Your next coworker is going to be an AI. What's the first thing you're going to delegate?